I'm happy we hit the magic, 6-digit level. I think we'll continue to accrete and go higher. I think a lot of it's going to come down to, do any of these big Mag 7 companies actually buy some?
Hmm.
That'll be a big deal, particularly in the short run. Do any other corporations around the world model, the MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet kind of model, and become Bitcoin banks essentially? And then does the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill get passed in the first 100 days?
In October, Mark Yusko, the founder, CIO, and managing director of Morgan Creek Capital Management, expressed a highly optimistic outlook for the cryptocurrency industry. He predicted that this year's Thanksgiving would mark a historic milestone for the sector, projecting it to be the most remarkable Thanksgiving since Bitcoin's inception. Yusko anticipated that Bitcoin, the leading cryptocurrency, would be trading near $100,000 per coin as the holiday season approached, signaling unprecedented growth and enthusiasm within the digital asset space. When he made this prediction, Bitcoin was trading below $70,000 per coin, but it soared swiftly over the next month to almost $100,000. Days later, the leading cryptocurrency finally reached the much-anticipated 6 digits, a level it has consistently maintained since then. Earlier this week, Bitcoin recorded a new record peak of $108,239 after popular Bitcoin bull Michael Saylor announced his software and business intelligence company had snapped up another 15,350 Bitcoin, increasing its Bitcoin stash to 439,000 Bitcoin. While Yusko applauds these developments and what they mean for Bitcoin, especially as we head into crypto fall in 2025, he says there is even more to come. One development the Morgan Creek Capital founder and CIO is looking forward to is the adoption of Bitcoin by multi-trillion-dollar firms like Apple and Microsoft, and the establishment of a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States in the first half of 2025. Yusko believes that these events will easily take Bitcoin to new unprecedented highs, as they would open doors for mass adoption of the cryptocurrency on a global scale. As we bring you clips from Yusko's latest interview with Thinking Crypto, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
We go back to the beginning of this year, we had all the excitement about the adoption or approval of the Bitcoin ETFs, and Bitcoin prices were still down in the doldrums, and sub 40,000, and recovering nicely from the 15K at the trough after the FTX debacle, but still not really that exciting, and people were still kind of nervous. Suddenly we get this big move right after the approval in January, February, got all the way to 74K. And it was like, oh my gosh, the halving, it's going to be great. And then we went the other way for a long time. From February through September, we kind of went like this. We kept making lower highs and lower lows, a very ugly, what's called a distributive pattern, where there was just a lot of selling going on, particularly in the futures market. And in January, we do this thing every year called the 10 surprises. I shamelessly stole it from Byron Wien. And we make 10 predictions about the future of different markets. And one of them is always around the crypto market. And we said that, highly likely we would see 6-figure Bitcoin this year, and
Hmm.
that fair value would trend upwards from where it was at 50K pre-halving to somewhere between 80 and 100K post-halving, depending on how many inscriptions and transaction fees we got. And long story short, we thought it would settle somewhere between, call it 120 and 150 by the end of the year, end of the cycle, but we didn't know exactly where. And one thing I was pretty sure of is that this would be the best Thanksgiving ever. You go back 3 years ago, basically we were all uninvited. Bitcoiners were uninvited. It's like, yeah, just don't even come. We decided not to have Thanksgiving this year. 2 years ago, they're like, I find you can come, but you're sitting at the kids' table. Then last year, it was like, okay, you can come, but you're over there by Uncle Ned. I'm like, I didn't even know I had an Uncle Ned. This year, it's like head of the table, two turkey legs. We love you. I'm happy we hit the magic, 6-digit level. I think we'll continue to accrete and go higher. I think a lot of it's going to come down to, do any of these big Mag 7 companies actually buy some? That'll be a big deal, particularly in the short run. Do any other corporations around the world model, the MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet kind of model, and become Bitcoin banks essentially? And then does the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill get passed in the first 100 days? Senator Lummis's bill that, look, with David Marcus as the Bitcoin and AI czar, pro-crypto guy, with Scott Bessent, who's relatively pro-crypto, a Treasury Secretary, with the Commerce Secretary, Lutnick, with Commerce Secretary, he's relatively pro-Bitcoin. So we got a lot of support for the SBR. And look, 200,000 Bitcoin isn't all the Bitcoin in the world, but it's a meaningful number.
Yeah.
And it's 10 weeks of MicroStrategy. So it's not like all the money in the world, but it's meaningful. I think that could trigger some sovereign entity FOMO, because if the US does it, well, then, geez, does Japan have to do it? And then does the ECB have to do it? And then does everybody have to put it on the central bank balance sheet? Which, if you would have said that 5 years ago, Tony, people would have looked at you like you had two heads.
As a global superpower with a lot of influence across all regions of the world, the United States is still very much considered a trendsetter in global affairs. Earlier this week, while addressing the Bundestag, the former finance minister of Germany, Christian Lindner, heavily condemned the German government's stance on Bitcoin and the broader crypto space. Lindner, who served under Chancellor Olaf Scholz in the outgoing administration, called for urgent policy reforms to position Germany competitively within the global crypto landscape. I have not heard from the federal chancellor, the Minister of Economics, or the leader of the opposition that a new crypto-friendly policy is now being implemented in the United States, Lindner stated during his address, further elaborating that Germany faces a competitive disadvantage compared to the US. The US will use the advantages that we could also have with Bitcoin, Lindner added. I hear nothing about this in a central debate in the German Bundestag. What an omission. What opportunities are being lost to us? It should be noted that Germany sold off about 50,000 Bitcoin earlier this year. Since then, Bitcoin has more than doubled in price, and experts estimate that the proceeds from the sale could have been approximately 2.3 billion euros higher if the sale had been carried out after Bitcoin hit $100,000. Lindner's advocacy for Bitcoin is gradually beginning to catch on. In a post on X, Frank Schaffler, who belongs to the same political party as the former finance minister, wrote, Christian Lindner speaks out in favor of Bitcoin in the Bundestag. Germany must recognize the opportunities and not leave it to the USA alone. Like Lindner, Schaffler has also been advocating for better crypto regulations in Germany and the broader euro area for some time. A few days before Lindner's speech, he tweeted, Bundesbank and ECB should include Bitcoin in their currency reserves. While there have been some mixed reactions to Lindner's advocacy, with many noting that he is only trying to leverage Bitcoin as a strategic focal point to regain political traction, it is quite certain that we will see more of this around the world, especially if the US establishes a strategic Bitcoin reserve during Trump's second term. Meanwhile, Yusko warns that the now they fight you phase against the cryptocurrency industry is still at play, and more battles need to be won before crypto can be completely accepted by regulators and the banking industry. Here are more clips from his interview.
The narrative's catching up to the technology. This is what I love. The technology's been there since day one. Many people didn't really understand it, but now I think people are realizing that, okay, this is a better, blockchains are a better database, right? They are a decentralized database. Okay, why is that good? Well, they're more fault tolerant, fault resistant, they're permanent, they're immutable. And so that technology is really good. Well, what's it really good for? Well, one application, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain is a better form of gold, which is money. Gold is money, right? Everything else is just credit, as JP Morgan famously quipped. And money's an asset that exists in the absence of a liability. And gold has been that for 5,000 years. But Bitcoin is as scarce as gold. So it has the primary element you need to be a store of value. But it's better than gold in that it's more portable and more divisible. So you can divide each Bitcoin into 100 million Satoshis. I look at that and say, all right, now that the narrative has caught up to the technology and people can't, you can't ignore it. It's the old adage, we've talked about this too, is from 2009 to 2015, it was pretty much first they ignore you phase. Yeah, a bunch of nerds and geeks you go play with your magic internet money. Yeah, whatever. And it was a science experiment. It was, a few tens of thousands of dollars, then tens of millions of dollars. And then, oh my gosh, it was $1 billion. $1 billion, they're like, yeah, whatever. Then we hit kind of the $10 billion mark. And we went in from the first they ignore you to the then they laugh at you phase. And that was kind of 2016 to 21. And that was $10 billion. How cute. You nerds and geeks, you're so funny. But then in 22, suddenly we got like 100 billion. It's like, well, now we got a freaking problem. Now JP Morgan is angry. And, they go to Elizabeth Warren and they, do the anti-crypto army and Bitcoin's evil. And China had already tried to ban it in 2018 and they doubled down on that. And, everybody was jumping on the bandwagon. That's the then they fight you phase. And I said, 2022 to 2027, kind of that's the then they fight you phase. But, it won't take that long. We'll win. Well, the thing is, if you're here, right? If you're watching your show, if you own Bitcoin, if you believe, we've already won. That's the cool part. But they're not going to give up the fight. And even if we win a couple skirmishes here and even win a few battles, the war's not over. And JP Morgan is going to fight, and Deutsche Bank's going to fight, and the Bank of International Settlements is going to fight. And they're going to try saying, well, buy our CBDC instead. Don't use that Bitcoin. That's for terrorists and criminals. No, CBDCs are for terrorists and criminals, governments. So I don't think that then they fight you is over, but we're halfway through it or 60% of the way through it. And 25, 26, I think we'll make progress. And I think we'll see new highs. And I think a lot more people will believe, right? They'll kind of say, oh, wait a second. This doesn't sound as crazy as I thought.
Right.
And this technology actually seems pretty sound.
However you look at it, the cryptocurrency industry is set for explosive growth in the coming weeks and months. Central banks are set to unleash a torrent of money printing on their respective economies, which will be great for all financial assets, but more so for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. Other stumbling blocks, such as the issue of regulatory clarity, are also being taken care of in the US, which will undoubtedly pave the way for higher crypto prices in the coming months and years. Do you agree with Mark Yusko's optimistic and bullish outlook on Bitcoin and the overall crypto space? Please share your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below. If you like this video and want more content like this, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit post notifications so you're instantly notified whenever we upload a video. We appreciate the support. Thanks for watching.